So it's my honor to introduce Leslie Townsend. I have been a client of Leslie for many years, and through those years we've had lots and lots of conversations, and she's just a brilliant person and always a fount of great information. So she is going to share some information with us on the mobile impact on market research panels. I wonder if that presentation has changed after the Google nuclear bomb yesterday on their mobile piece, so we'll see. But anyway, help me welcome Leslie Townsend. Thank you.
Thanks. No, it's pretty much a straight-up presentation about the mobile impact on market research panels, and specifically I'm addressing in this presentation the enterprise panels and not what we call the public access or the larger public opinion panels. So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be presenting on this topic, and the reason I chose this topic is because I think over the last couple of years we've made very rapid progress in supporting mobile surveys, but not so much progress in supporting enterprise panels in an end-to-end fashion and in a manner in which they can participate in a device-agnostic way or a multi-mode way, web, mobile. So I think they're lagging behind a bit, and I also think it can be a very gentle transition from taking an online enterprise panel to a multi-mode environment. It's not a huge additional investment or struggle. So let's get started with considering why these are needed. I think the statistics have also been out there a couple of years, and I'm not going to go out there too much, but I have two really, I think, relevant sets of statistics that come into play later. One is a study done last year by Telenav that found that 66% of us sleep with our smartphones by our side. I know I have for many years. So it's something to think about in an SMS world. Another statistic that I really like is that about a quarter of us would prefer to spend a week without our spouse or significant other as opposed to a week without our smartphone. So we truly love our devices and prefer them to many other things in our life. So clearly the enterprise panel has no place to go but to be impacted by mobile. And for those of you who were at the Amsterdam MRMW, we presented our mobile statistics. They're also out there in a recently published white paper that is on our website, and you can download them from there. But basically in the U.S. right now, 25.5%, this is first quarter data, 25.5% of our traffic is mobile. We're just starting to pull quarter two statistics, and we've seen growth since then. So it's a phenomenal non-response bias if these people are not supported. Now, they may be supported in the survey environment, but again, it's the end-to-end processes. For those of you at CASRO, our figures may be a little bit high. We may be a little bit of a leading indicator because we have focused on mobile for so much longer than some of the other companies, but other companies' rates of traffic are not too far behind us. I think Merritt's and Federated presented some rates that were in the 5 to 20% range, depending on regions of the traffic and period of time. So while most people are agreeing that the time is now, you know, the end-to-end processes of going through recruitment to redeeming incentives aren't always supportive of these. And most of what I'm talking about takes place right on the respondent website. So that's where we're going to start. The way I like to think about this and present it is really to think about yourself being a panelist and how you would join into a particular panel and what the starting point might be. So somehow, regardless of how the recruitment starts, what the source of it is, where you're discovered, it's usually with a web presence. And increasingly, those web presences could be mobile presences. If it's with social media, an increasing amount of social media, about half of social media traffic is already on mobile. If it's River, it could still be mobile. So obviously, through the recruitment process, there is less control now that who we're recruiting is coming in on a particular type of device. So how does this whole double opt-in process, which is the way where I'm going to start, work in a mobile or a device agnostic environment, and what are a few of the best practices? Again, I think no radical transformation required. The first thing we think about is double opt-in. So a panelist is sent to a site. Usually there's a few registration fields to fill out. Those are by best practice in our industry, kept as short and sweet as possible already. And there's not much to change there other than to have that site support both web and mobile. There are a couple of other considerations in that you do need to do the same type of device detection that we do for surveys to support things like scalable images, touch screen, and all of those sorts of things. Now, there are some other considerations here, though, if you're going to be planning to use text messaging in your future. And I come back to 66% of us sleeping with our phones by our bed. I've been woken up in the middle of the night with survey invitations and marketing invitations and don't really appreciate it. So I'm not a big advocate of using SMS at all in an enterprise panel situation, but I know that we have clients who do. And I think that there should be separate opt-in for this process, and as well as a separate opt-out, simply because I think you will receive a higher opt-out on SMS, and you may not want that to reflect a higher opt-out rate on the panel overall. So if you do want to use SMS, you will have to add or augment your fields to get the mobile phone number so that you can do the SMS in that manner. So typically once you've filled out the registration, you're going to be sent an email or hopefully not an SMS to ask you for some additional profiling information. And of course, if it's SMS, then we suggest and recommend that you collect a field that is under the user's control about when they're willing to receive SMS text messaging. And that may be a field that you want to let them change through time. Also, another consideration is that during registration, there's usually some type of behind-the-scenes participant authentication process occurring. This would be collecting IP address, digital fingerprints, those sorts of things. If you are using that in an enterprise panel, you may as well throw it out the door because it doesn't work in a mobile or a multi-mode environment. And if you're 25% of your respondents, or whatever that percentage is coming in via mobile, and I assure you it is a significant percentage, then the authentication processes no longer work. And unfortunately, there's, as far as I know, not a real valid replacement out there right now. So for customer lists, yes, you know who they are. For people that you're recruiting in some other manner, for a while we're kind of in limbo because we can't authenticate. Mobile respondents in any scenario, but also in a panel scenario, are much less likely than desktop respondents to immediately check the mail for the double opt-in. So, that is another reason why some companies consider using SMS. When a device is detected, perhaps using SMS just for the double opt-in and not for any other aspects of the panel management. One thing to think about. Also, you might want to revise your profiling processes here. Some companies during a double opt-in process require a profiler to be completed, and others do not. We recommend in a mobile environment you're not as likely to get the profiler completed right then and there. So you may want to consider allowing them to be double opted in simply when they click on a link or respond to a text message, and try and get the profiling later. And then panelists who are recruited via mobile are typically higher churners than traditional desktop respondents, panelists. You're going to find this to be true. A lot of it depends on the source that they're recruited from, so it's not always the case. So another means of taking your panel recruitment to kind of a new level or tweaking it a bit is to send them directly into a survey project and recruit on the tail end rather than recruiting first. You may have a higher success rate there. So once they're inside the panel, the functionality available, the surveys, and everything, of course, need to be device agnostic. But we're saying that this is the opportunity really to start building some more engagement and some more bells and whistles. Mobile, yes, they're getting a shorter survey experience, so maybe it's time to do some other things that keep them interested and engaged. And everybody is wanting something different from everyone else here. But just a few suggestions, things like a click-to-call feature for technical support, requests for text information, requests for callback, things like the text a friend refer a friend type programs can be switched over to text a friend rather than using like the traditional avatars that we see in a lot of enterprise panels, using digital photo and video uploads as personal identifiers and giving a more personalized identity than the avatar itself. Of course, perhaps adding some metadata fields, because location, even if you're not using it now, can be very important in the future. Looking at some new incentive models, mobile couponing. There's been other incentive models discussed here. These are things that can be added slowly through time. They don't need to be added all at once. The big picture is to make the respondent website a place that is engaging for both types of respondents and where they can do the things that they normally did before, like refer a friend, take a mini poll, or redeem incentives. So also, we think all of the sub-communities, the blogs, chats, forums, everything that is on those sites should be dual mode. And implementing some of these features is going to be easier than others, but they all hold the potential to deepen the engagement with respondents, particularly mobile respondents. Reward redemption is probably the biggest engagement factor. We saw that even in the last presentation. So offering a device-flexible redemption mechanism in a process that's easy for them to understand is very critical. Most online panels use points-based systems these days, so they're very easy to turn into mobile redemption platforms. So this means that somebody who prefers to use their mobile device over their desktop is not forced to move and change to another device to get their incentive and therefore get it at a later point in time. And the good news around this is that mobile payments have made very rapid progress over the last couple of years. This is an example. PayPal, which I think has been processing online payments since 2010, is expecting to process $7 billion in mobile payments this year. So it's not brand spanking new, and most of the redemption models that are used out there can easily be translated into mobile, as well as there are many options for some newer redemption models. Increasingly, the heart and soul of a panel, as well as the source of additional data, is the social media features. And as I've mentioned, these need to be developed in a way that they can be supported on either devices, and that the panel is in some way capturing that information. Social media is offering huge synergy with mobile. It's about 50% of Facebook and Twitter traffic these days. So all of the social media implementation that is put on your panel needs to be supported in multi-mode. The panel participation typically requires new types of data and user settings, which are on the slide that I've mentioned. Naturally, the privacy policy issue is key here around geolocation capture, and we're also calling for encryption of some of these database fields, at least in the short term, because there is so much sensitivity around it. So I've covered the functional capabilities, I think, that need to be addressed, and the manner in which we address these and others address these is simply in using a dual mode website. For ourselves, we've built our own content management system that has these types of modules already developed. There are many content management systems off the shelf available that you can use. We found that they did not support all mobile respondents as well as they might. I would say that at this point in time, what we're seeing in terms of our mobile traffic, and there is a breakdown in browser statistics in our white paper, is that virtually everybody coming in is using smartphones. A year ago, we still had a substantial amount of traffic that was non-smartphone. But today it's all smartphone, and this really makes it much easier to develop a site that supports very advanced functionality for panels with all of the tools that they're used to using on their sites. So this is also good news from an app development standpoint. And what you'll see from our statistics is that almost all of our traffic, both US and Europe, is iOS and Android devices. No surprise there. And the amount of traffic from other types of smartphones is tapering off significantly. So I think I'm out of my time here, but what I'd like to just kind of close with is to say that in terms of this dual mode expansion, it really can be done in baby steps. The biggest change is really just in the website. Apps can be added at any time. I haven't really spent too much time talking about them. They're not mutually exclusive with your panel, but a lot of time the brand has other plans for apps that need to be, where marketing and market research need to kind of join forces on those. There's also some considerations about mobile-only panels. Some people see the need for mobile-only research projects at the point of sale or consumption, and if you're planning on using those can easily be run as subsets of a bigger online panel and do not necessarily need to have dedicated resources set to them. So I think I'll open it up for questions right now. I'd just like to make a couple of closing remarks that there is a community contest that we're running here at MRMW. We're giving away an iPod. The drawing is at noon. There's still like another hour to register, to go online and register if you haven't done that. There are some polls on there that demonstrate what I've been talking about. We did the same polls in Europe, and we will blog or have Lenny blog the results shortly after the show, or maybe later this afternoon. And as I mentioned, the mobile stats that you may want to refer to are on our website. So, questions?
Actually, the giveaway is an iPad, right?
What did I say?
You said iPod.
Yeah, iPad.
Yes,
Sorry.
iPad. So Brian won't be the only person who got the, I know, the I something. All right, questions for Leslie?
Can you talk about what software you're using for device detection? Is it homegrown or off the shelf?
It's homegrown, as is our content management system. We developed our own content management system after some failures with others.
So how do you keep that up to date? I mean, what's the process for keeping that up to date to keep track of all of the proliferation of devices?
There's a lot of crowdsourcing involved.
Hey, I was curious, you mentioned asking your panelists for preferences on like contact times, for instance, being woken up in the middle of the night by an SMS. I was curious, you also advocated not using an application. How do you handle the instance, for instance, I'm from Seattle. I'm 3 hours ahead of my normal time zone. If I had said, for instance, it was okay to contact me at, up till 8 o'clock at night in Seattle, it's not the same here in this time zone. Is there a way that you can mitigate that without an app? Because you don't know the time zone that my device is in?
Yes, if you gather that as an additional field during registration or profiling, then we can control that in the send out.
So, but that would only be app-based because you wouldn't have knowledge of the time zone that I'm in if you're doing this from the mobile web, correct?
So what we're doing is adding user settings. So for instance, if I go to Greece next week, I can change my time zone settings.
I see.
And that would be a function that could be added to the panelist website. We don't have it yet. It's in our current iteration, though.
Okay. Two more questions, Peter and then Beth.
Thank you, Leslie. You talked about the growth you had in 25.5% in Q1. There also was a large growth in people moving to mobile. Can you talk about what your similar statistic was a year ago and maybe the number of studies you had a year ago versus this year?
It was scary. We had just about 5% last year, so we've had phenomenal growth in mobile. Now, it's not all panel-related traffic. We do do a lot of mobile ad testing, and so that excludes, by the way, some very large clients who self-host, which would bias the data in a different direction. And we've had weeks where 40% of our traffic is mobile.
Hold on, Beth, it's coming. Wait, Diane?
I can hear you.
Yeah, but the folks in the simulcast can't, Beth. Sorry, hold on one second.
Thanks. Yeah, that was very interesting learning for me when you said that it's best to just once you recruit them, to just immediately take them to the survey and then ask them for personal information at the end of the survey, right? So what could you share a statistic on average how much of what proportion of your recruits actually complete the profile at the end? I mean, I'm concerned about the loss of the loss through incomplete.
I'm not necessarily advocating that, but as the recruitment channels become more and more mobile-centric, perhaps dividing the traffic and treating mobile respondents a different way than you treat on traditional desktop respondents, because they are so much more fickle and probably pressed for time doing what they're doing. You will, with that methodology, get a lower percentage recruited into your panel, but if the survey project is the primary, paramount consideration, you'll get a higher completion rate there.
So chances are they're more likely to provide their personal information once you've gotten them through the survey than at the beginning.
what I'm saying is they have only got time to do one thing. Probably if they're coming in on their mobile device, they only are going to do one thing, not two. So you send them to the one that's the most critical to you. And if it's something like, if they're coming in through what I call the river, and you're hoping to get them impaneled at some point, and they're on a mobile device, it's much more difficult to get both things done, a project completed and a profiler completed.
Thank you,
Yep,
Leslie.
thanks.
Thank you so